for Falcons, looking to get revenge onto Gamex for taking on Alpha 7. Romeo continuing to hit some nasty shots. Vision putting up a wonderful fight. This could go any which way. For Yingon Galacticus, well, only one more player remains. Hora is starting to also get in onto the Vision fight. Noah, very weak. Marcellus should very weak himself, but manages to stay alive, believe it or not.
Yingon Galacticus chiming in. Romeo's still alive and still giving it large. One player down on the backlines for Vision now. Just one player remaining left standing for them. Noah desperately trying to get the res, but he has to face the fight first. And Sky, Jiggle, both pouring damage down over this hillside. Sleepy's there with a backup in the ghillie suit, and it will go undetected by them. Over on the north side, Vision are wiped away, and Aura will continue for that fight on the northern edge, but the Falcons continue to take shots across every which way.
Yeah, that's right. Up winning this, they need to move forward, and you got Falcons who's ready to gun you down. Gamex as well, and I'm loving where Fireflux is currently at, pretty much having the only hardcover POIs outside of Narvalo and Ralph and Redox, who's going to be for Falcons, relatively split. Gamex has been on a terror. 4 eliminations, I know that doesn't seem like much, but for a Gamex roster who has yet to show themselves, not only do they take down Alpha 7, but they're also challenging the top dogs of Falcons, who are currently up top. But this fight, this push up the hill, it's almost impossible.
It is very, very difficult when you're dealing with players that are sat up in that watchtower. You need to plant those nades in. You need to be accurate and deadly with them. But Ralph seems to know where he's fighting against. So do they. They bobble a nade over, but don't find the knock. They need some backup here. It is just Ralph on this position. Narvalo is off in the distance. They're playing split right now. And Arthur puts another stone up. Over the top, doesn't fully connect. In the meantime, Narvalo's soloing Aura on that northeast side. And actually, Aura could change the tune of this one.
Yes,
they could roll straight into Gamax instead of uphill towards Ralph.
They absolutely could, and if they take down Gamex, surely they're going to take down the 2 from Team Falcons. Ralph repositions. E-Arena could also fire some shots on his back end. He needs to be very aware of his surroundings and who is currently at play. Ora, nade onto Arthur. Going to be a bit short. They've got to continue to push up. For Falcons, though, continually getting picked apart. Joker takes down another from the Falcons roster, leaving them as a duo. Hora starting to tighten the vice grip, getting closer and closer to Gamex. Gamex needs to be ready for the attack.
Arthur first to face with the shotgun, but from a distance it's E-Arena, forcing him closer on the rock. Doesn't have time to heal before No Fear puts the nade in, and that could be terminal for them. A last player to stand, a damage lick sent back towards him, but there is just no way that he's going to be able to pick this one up. Unfortunately, the first aid actually coming through. Aura, okay, they're slowing down. That cut across from E-Arena doing a lot of work as the Falcons get taken down in the meantime.
I don't mind the slowdown. Only one more player to remember from Gamex, and I do hope they do remember. We have seen solos wreak havoc on rosters who are even 4 stacks. We witnessed it yesterday with Catch. We can witness it once again here. E-Arena starting to take down Influence Rage. The solo from Gamex getting active onto Hora. Jiggle's going to be down. Luckily, they recover. They take him out. The question is, will Hora have to fight at it with 3? Yes, they will. A full elimination law. He'll go ahead and die to the blue zone. We're down to our top 3 at the moment, and a great start for Fireflux, who started the day in first place, looking to take game 1, but Sleepy has other plans.
He wants to go a little bit further on this one, just about darts out of the blue in time to prevent himself from getting knocked. Fireflux back up now. They will be getting to 3, so it is 3 players alive on all of our remaining squads. The circle shifting away from Fireflux, though, makes this really tough. E-Arena sit dominantly on the high ground as well. You can see what a lovely angle Mormon has. So does No Fear over towards Fireflux, and it is really trading off that aggro. Aura, they do lose one to a knock, and E-Arena should have this on lockdown as 2 players now sit right on the back to the blue for Aura.
E-Arena could jump all the way up into top 5. Massive game for them, but E-Arena has also been on fire. They've been playing very well, with them having 3 players and the high ground. Hora has no choice but to use the natural terrain, aka the rocks, and just kind of bunny hop between them. Mormon, who's been the linchpin for this roster, he has been so very impressive, not only in group stages, but also the survival side of things. Sakura taking some damage. Mormon starting to push up, but no drama here. E-Arena takes game number 1 in scintillating sensational fashion, and that should jump them up into top 5.
Big news here. here on this match. Alpha 7 again go down early, intense game. Not a great performance from them. Influence Rage still in 10th place as well. The Brazilian teams are faltering, they are fumbling, and it may be the twilight of the region here at the PMWC. They need to stand up tall because teams like E-Arena, teams like Fireflux, teams like the Falcons and Regnum Kaya will take them on any day of the week. You cannot let off the pace because this is what happens.
That's it. Big hits to some top dogs, but for others starting to shine true. Top 8's getting competitive without question. It's still easy to break in. I say easy with an asterisk. Of course, I'm only talking in terms of the amount of points needed to break into top 8 for some of the rosters down below the threshold. But they start to get serious. That's one game done and only 5 more games remain. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, game 2, we're heading into Arrogel, coming your way.
Cybertron's future is near. Autobots, roll out! Reeks of weakness. Your courage reignites my spark. We'll crowd a new load of Cybertron. Victory for all sentient beings.
And caught up with none other than the coach from Power Esports, Hexy. Thank you so much for joining me. I gotta ask you though, coming into the survival stage, having finished second place in many of the MENA tournaments, is there now an added pressure to surpass the Falcons here at PMWC?
We don't have any pressure. We just try to be as much good as we can. Our point is not getting first, second place. We just play our games and try to be as much consistent as we can.
Do you feel like the Falcons are coming into this event looking pretty strong?
Yes, they are a good team. We respect them, but we will try our best, like, to surpass every team. We don't have a specific team to watch. So we just play our games.
And talking a little bit more about yesterday's matches here at the survival stage, you walked away with 1 chicken dinner, which congratulations on that front. However, 2 of those matches, you were the first team that was eliminated. What do you really think went wrong there?
One of the games that were because of hot drop, which depends on 50-50. Either you win, either you lose. And the lack of data that we didn't expect them to on our spot. So they landed and we had a fight, then we got a fair party. So it was a tough game, but we tried to fix that and we already fixed it.
You already fixed it. Does that mean heading into the final day of survival stage, you're pretty confident you have a little bit more reliable data to work off of?
Yeah, every day we play, we get more data about teams and where they go, how the style they play.
Yeah.
So our style should be and will be the same. So we just try to avoid on the first game fights. Then we will try to play our game depending on the timings and the data the players will get.
Well, I want to end off this interview by asking you to give a message to the rest of the teams that you'll be facing here at the final day of survival stage.
We are Power Esports and we don't fear anyone. We will try our best to beat every single team.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining me and good luck.
You're welcome.
A Sandhog game, not ending on the Northwest Island. It's Christmas. We've got ourselves a brilliant game coming out from E-Arena, who were able to control the cliff sides, able to dominate the rest of the competition here in the jungle. Welcome back. I'm breaking down this game alongside Neptura, as well as Maxman here. And we have got good old E-Arena with a brilliant little win here, Maxman.
Oh, yeah, good old SEA chicken dinner. We love to see it. No, it was a very solid game from them. They were playing a very good compound on the road trifecta next to bootcamp the entirety of the game. It kept shifting away, and they played it very safe, playing on the lower side of the cliff, trying to avoid all of these big early fights, all the early altercations, and because of that, a lot of the teams were wounded, and that's how they can sneak their way into the circle to get the win, especially thanks to Mormon's angle.
Yes, Max. No, I'm doing that as a meme. I'm doing it as a meme. No, I did like how they played that. They were able to really effectively use the back of the zone to actually use that and to make sure that nobody else was going to come in. Use that kind of as a wall to just push forward. And it worked out really brilliantly for them. However, they're not going to be at the top of that ranking in terms of points. It's going to be Hora, who did step up in the end game, just trying to third party as much as possible, and look where it's gotten them.
Hurrah! No, they're very excited about that game.
No.
Oh no, we're doing it again. No, actually, they were on a big sweeping motion onto the eastern side, just clearing all the teams. They got rid of R8. They had a really good compound control. Very strong third party, specifically onto the side of GMX. They were fighting another squad over there. I think it was Falcons, and actually just able to take full control of the east. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the chicken dinner, but it was enough to be the top team in terms of points overall. So Hora really starting to play a lot more aggressive, which normally in CSA they're quite a bit more passive, but here they've really woken up and know that if they want to make it in the top 8, they need to get elimination points on board.
Definitely come alive in the survival stage, right? I mean, there were moments in the group stage that I don't think we should really discredit too much here, but for survival, looking brilliant here, Neptura, and considering the position that they were coming in from, considering everything, all the components of this game, I think it lined up really nicely.
It did land really nicely, and I think it's been really interesting to see how they adapt to the more global lobby, because you're right, we've seen something kind of very different from them in CSA, but to come into global and not so much control with that more passive just zone control that we're so used to seeing, it is actually controlling with those third parties, which isn't full aggression. It's not a full confrontation 4v4 fight. So it is tweaking it, but it is just making sure that they are more aggressive, able to get more points, and actually reading the lobby really well.
Especially in CSA, I kept describing them as a very good defensive team. We take a strong position, we defend until the very end. It's nice to see them be an aggressive team looking for breaches and third parties and then being successful while doing so. And I think that gives me really good hype around them as to how they could play going into the finals, of course, if they qualify, but they're looking pretty good. So I think the top 8 is in the cards for them.
We have our eye on them. And another team that we have our eye on, of course, is Falcons coming into today, who actually got dispatched of relatively quickly by good old GMX down towards the bottom of the tables here, Max, who are fighting back. Let's take a look at one of these moments here and see kind of how things went down.
GMX taking heads. Okay, they take down Alpha 7 and Falcons, 2 favorites. So we had at the very start, like, they're going to make it top 8 pretty easily. But no, GMX they took was against none other than Alpha 7. Alpha 7, by the way, did not have a bad game here because they actually had a really good rotate. They go from their 2-2 split, regroup on this compound. But GMX, they find one knock, maybe an angle of Alpha 7 was just not fully covered. And I tell you, the speed at which they committed was mind-boggling. They fully sent on the compound, all 4 players, overwhelm Alpha 7 in the matter of 10 to 15 seconds, and the squad wipe is instantaneous. GMX, if they want to do a comeback here to make it in the top 8 against teams like Alpha 7, they got to keep this going the entire day, and maybe top 8 could be possible for them.
Another team I want to focus on, of course, here is Fireflux. They've done amazingly here in the survival stage, but just slipping a little bit here in the final moments, Neptera.
Yeah, I think we thought they were going to win. You were like, yeah, they're Fireflux, they're going to win. But I think at that point, at the point that when they tried to actually do something, it was too late because they had the low ground and that particular ridgeline or hillside was so open.
Yeah.
Hora had eyes on them. Arena had eyes on them. It would have been much better if they had maybe one zone before, at least just like 30 seconds before, right before the zone closes. Use that space that's technically outside a zone to wrap around outside and come in behind Arena. I think that would have had a much better chance for them to win longevity-wise because E-Arena were just able to use that ridge so effectively. That could have been Fireflux if they'd been a bit more proactive.
I think there's a big issue when you stay in a compound on the edge for a little bit too long, you become very predictable. Teams knew that they were going to be exiting from that main building onto the southern eastern edge, so they're just like, we hold angles against that. Fireflux, you're not going to exit that compound whatsoever. So Fireflux, again, a team that we know can be very strong, but here a little bit too slow and a bit too passive. I think if they were more punishing, maybe as you said, Niptra, maybe 30 seconds earlier, maybe they just control the entire circle and take home that chicken dinner.
I think that's a good breakdown, guys, because obviously they're looking great at the top, but they could be smashing even more here in the survival stage and really making a statement. Well, as you can see, we are getting ready for Erangel. Make sure to check out the map feed as well, which is live over on YouTube. And we can now head over to the casters for the grassy pastures. Erangel on the cards.
Thank you very much. I am Taylor Reflections Noble, ready for this game here to get started. It is going to be a scintillating sensation of a game, and I am pumped.
Wow, John, that was phenomenal reflections. Yeah, you sound great. You sound proper Texan, I would have to say. By the way, you're in the same room as me. You start picking on me a little bit too much. I am bigger than you. I want you to throw you out.
Yeah, but I've got my name on my socks.
What? What? Can I come back? Yo, I'm going to take you out. Oh, don't worry. I got my name on my socks. Yeah,
they're going to be able to tell which bits of me
there you go.
left.
That's what I'm thinking once I remove you from this room, man.
Hey, look. We're gonna put our differences aside for now.
We love each other.
Because we have a communal hatred for Alpha 7. They're doing really poorly right now. Yeah, everybody in this room hates Alpha 7 right now. They are so bad at video games.
No, Alpha 7 are okay. Look, the thing about Alpha 7 is they can come back. They really can. But I can't dispute it. Like, they are on the struggle bus. Things are not going okay for them. And I am sincerely starting to get worried. Now, we did notice yesterday Alpha 7 did land Lapoka for the first time in PMWC. That's normally their go-to spot for the Americas region. Of course, here for PMWC, they've been going up towards Georgia Pole. That's been their location. So I wonder if now they're maybe starting to go back to their default spots that put them at PMWC to begin with. With the way Squash and all the co from Alpha 7, I believe they are in fact going to be going to their OG landing spot. So now we're going back to what worked during Americas, what has worked in seasons previously. I like this because Alpha 7 are in trouble. They've been trying new things. Now it's time to go back to what has worked, your bread and butter.
I mean, this could also be an artifact of the plane path as well, right? This plane path, very eastern leaning from Stalba down to the middle of Sosnovka military base. It feels like a backup drop for Alpha 7. I wouldn't be too surprised over the next 2 matches to see them go back over there.
Oh my gosh.
This is a pretty nasty sub. Okay, let's kick things off with an eastern plane path and a hard southwest circle.
Wow.
This is also nasty because it's on the late end of the plane path. There's a hot drop on a vehicle there. I think that's in Intense Game, who have just lost a player. I believe they've gotten down to Ora, if I'm not mistaken. over by Yasnaya on a vehicle hot drop there. Our only casualty so far. Maybe a little bit more as well. And Power drop one out. Evo T tries to give him the runaround. He says, I'm going to dodge this vehicle. They can't get through the rock. He's like, yeah, but I've got a gun, mate.
He's got a gun, and well, the gun wins over the night. Power, one of the top slaying teams when it comes to Arigel, at least historically here for our survival stage, elimination-wise, averaging, 7 or a little over 7. They start off with an elim early on. Good for them. Everybody's going to quickly try and rotate over. There's so much water in the current stage 1 that you have to get some real estate as much as you can on mainland. And I love that Falcons Kinotrope are taking early priority. Let's not forget Kinotrope, a team that is looking to work their way up in the top 8. Fully eliminated early on in the initial fight against Yangon Galacticus on Sandhawk Map 1. So they are desperately needing a solid game 2 and onwards. But for Falcons, if they can get center zone, maybe even get on that shoreline, they can have a wonderful game here.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it is a pretty dramatic circle as in terms of landmass, but what it doesn't do is necessarily put a massive hurry up, because it's on the mainland. These rotational paths will be known, and generally teams will be comfortable into this area of the map, right? It's not too different from if it was just a little bit further north and it didn't have as much water on the south edge. The difficulty will start to come on through in towards stage 2, stage 3, after these first rotational plays have been made and moving on through that way. With 2 players going down so far on a hard east lane path, not necessarily unexpected, but the thing I'm looking at right now is Otter and Influence Rage and Yasnaya Polyana.
Yeah, they're very, very close to each other. That fight most likely going down. Again, an important one to say the least. For Ora, well, they are towards the top end of the standings. They naturally want to continue to separate themselves, not only for the money, but also for a guaranteed spot in the finals on our next stage. But for Influence Rage's perspective, I mean, truly at the moment, the crown jewel for Brazil, the crown jewel for the Americas region to break at the top 8 and represent Americas in the finals. If it's not for Influence Rage, it's not going to be an intense game. They're a little bit too far down. Alpha 7, so many question marks on them. So Influence Rage winning a fight against Orta here could be massive and bumping them up the standings.
The question is, do either team want to engage?
Not at all.
Right? It looks like they dropped close and looted away from one another. And in general, I would imagine that is what is on their minds right now. Meanwhile, over on the rest of the map, it's Regnum Kaya crossing the Gakka fields. Falcons, they've sent a scout out ahead, but Regnum Kaya could potentially pinch that away and cut off that supply line behind them. It looks like Falcons are on a 2-2 right now, I think. It could be a 3-1, I'm not entirely sure on our map feed. But either way, Regnum Kaya seem to be descending on that forward position for the Falcons, and that could be nasty, depending on how fast the Falcons can regroup. Yep. They are about 500 meters out for getting fully on the regroup, but Ralph goes down, and Regnum Kaya wastes no time.
That's right, Regnum Kaya is starting to get active. I believe it was a 2-2 split. It was Koa with Redux who were on the advanced position, and well, now he's got Narvalo and Co starting to move through, and Wild is most likely going to be shot at relatively soon, you would have to think. From Falcons' perspective, losing one hurts, though. They were not wanting that, but that's kind of reminiscent of what they've been doing. Falcons love sending a scout player up ahead. Sometimes it burns them, sometimes it works out well.
How have AXTMG made their way along this coastline? They've rotated through now 3 teams, and it seems like people are just like, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. You guys can just keep going. It's all chill. They dropped around Milta, sort of around that sort of area. They've gone through Nongshim, they've gone through Kinotrope, now they've gone past Vision, and it seems like nobody wants a piece other than on that hot drop that we saw earlier where they lost Evo T.
That's right. Falcons start to move their way maybe towards the shoreline themselves, maybe closer and closer to Kinotrope. There's a lot of activity in one area. I mean, you got Intense Game is relatively close, but all eyes on Vision. Now Red Force moving in, Kinotrope, all within the same vicinity, and it is getting quite active. Redox moves up, and there's going to be a team off to his right that he's going to have to potentially deal with a little bit later on. For Alpha 7, I said it, they like the land Georgia Bowl, they go towards Lipovka. Now they've got to make the long rotate down, and they're choosing to take the northern side, which is also quite congested with the arena, R8, Influence Rage, Aura, who are all moving in, and Aura, luckily for them, are the tip of the spear. They're going to be the first team to get inside of the zone, which gives them the flexibility not only for locations, but also potentially gatekeep if they so desire.
this is a really ridiculous number of teams actually going for this north side rotate, right? I mean, you know the plane path was deep on that eastern side, sure, but the fact that there's so few teams coming through from Mansion, past School, past Pachinki, is going to change things up. I wonder if anyone's going to draw short and try and camp one of those bridges on the way, farm a couple of points. If I'm R8, I'm thinking about it. Looks like maybe they're going to hop out and slow Alpha 7 down. Rebel just about gets away with it for now. Will they unleash more, or are they going to have to try and tumble and do the fights? He slows down. This could be really dangerous here. No. Takes one. The vehicle's smoking. He's low out in the open field here. This is really dangerous for the Rebel. He needs to be really careful. We're zoomed in over his shoulder. You can see he's keeping it cool. He's keeping it calm. But you can imagine that heart is pumping right now.
You know, a lot of times we joke about flipping the cars, bad drivers, so forth, but like, no, that could have been quite devastating. And now into the buggy we go, full health on the vehicle, and they'll continue to separate themselves. R8 and co. Look, R8, they're not playing around today. They're going to take down Alpha 7 as soon as they can. And let's not forget, for Alpha 7, the pressure is truly on their shoulders, not only in the arena, but also for their region. For them going back-to-back, they cannot continue to fumble the bag and make mistakes.
That crown-embellished key is teetering on the edge of the crusher right now. For Alpha 7, they are desperate to get points at this juncture. 8th place is a real distance for them right now. They sit on 27. 8th place with Yangon Galacticos right now is 43. We're expecting it to be pushing up towards 70 at the end of the day. And we'll see how they are able to try and clamber their way on through, but that hope is dwindling fast. A hard west shift here isn't super dramatic. Again, it does cut out those Pachinki fields, but I feel like a lot of teams are going to be more pleased about that than if it had been further east on this circle. That west side coast now is going to start to get a little bit more packed. The area around Quarry can be very treacherous as well.
Yeah, Alpha 7 starting to move straight into the center. Well, relatively close anyways, just opposite of Ora and IG as well. And speaking of Ora, it's going to be right there neck and neck, and Alpha 7 don't want to pop. Well, they do. I thought they weren't going to pop out and fire some shots, but they want distance. They want Ora to keep on moving. And for Alpha 7, yeah, the short line would be great, but I think they're going to be happy with the real estate they currently have, and especially now. Hardcover POI setting up. They will set up their fortress and try and gatekeep anybody else who starts to move in, aka E-Arena, who have now made their way into the zone out of blue. You still got some stragglers, Yangon Galacticus, Power, Gamex, who have been very slow on the rotate, now finally starting to come in. Regnum Karya setting up in the Wizard Tower. You got some great spots locked in. Question is, when the next future zones come, who's going to be benefited? And Alpha 7, no, Mafioso down the arena challenging.
They've just immediately taken down Mafioso, got way too bold on the angle. As a solo, just had no chance of having backup from the rest of his roster. On the far side of the hill, I mean, I'm slamming a massive question mark on that one.
Yeah, that's tough. What is going on? Alpha 7, they had such a good spot. Hardcover POI, like they looked great. Why not just stay there? Why scout? It's not necessary, and now you lose a player. You got to go at it with just 3. That hurts me. It really does. Vinny laying low. Scarface up ahead. Vinny, a talented player in his own right. A guy that wants to truly cement his name in PUBG Mobile history. Had a chance to speak with him, and I love his tenacity. I love his desire to want to be one of the best out there. Noxian Red Force, potentially gatekeeping Power, and Gamex as they start to move in.
Fireflux, who are now on 73. Our first team to have crossed that expected threshold, right? They are now over the 70 points that we're expecting them to need to be able to get on towards those finals directly at the end of the day. So from here on out, it is just a question of solidification. If you could jump up over 80 points, you're looking pretty much guaranteed to be in, right? So if they can earn 7 points this match, beautiful stuff. Turkey will be very, very happy. Even if Regnum Karya don't make it, they will still have their representatives in those finals.
Well, historically, Fireflux have averaged at least 4 eliminations when it comes to Erangel, so that'll put them even closer to that 80-point mark, which definitely would be safe. And with the other team struggling as much as they have been, even towards like Yangon Galacticus at 43, I still feel 73 is most likely going to be safe, but you'd rather be safe than sorry. Take a look at the map once again. Another zone shift towards the south. That's going to force Alpha 7 out of their hardcover. E-Arena hot on their heels, most likely trying to hunt down the remaining A7 members. Already also going in. Influence, Rage, Regnum, Karia. My goodness, the teams up there, John. Incredible.
I'm looking around that quarry area as well. Kinotrope control a lot of the ground on the southwest side. If they can keep that outpost alive, it could be great. But it's a question of doing that, of getting that one done. Alpha 7 now with more danger on their doorstep. E-Arena continue to try and push on through. They want to find a shot if they can make it over towards Revo, who's taking some peeks. Carrillo repositioning on the buggy. And Squash as well, potentially in with a scrap. R8 moving in on the north side as Influence Rage are going to go parallel towards them. Law hops out. He spots the player on the back of the buggy. He's so slow that he can't connect the spray. Law drops the ball in a massive way. And it is ID7 getting real happy with it there for R8 to stay alive. A slow, lazy drift, and it's too much to handle for Law.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's uncharacteristic. Law hits his shots. In that moment, he doesn't. And now Lorenzen forced to full send it in. Go for the attack. Take down DeMar, which might be possible. DeMar's weak. Lorenzen, please do not drop the ball here, much like your teammate did just a second ago. The nade doesn't get the finish, but so does DeMar. He, unfortunately, pulls his gun back just in the nick of time to allow Lorenzen to successfully get that elim without any drama, doesn't take any damage. Even though Influence Rage loses one, still relatively okay, but they've got Gamex, they've got power, and they still have E-Arena who are surrounding them.
It is difficult on that northern side. It is getting really quite tense here, and Alpha 7, of course, have to move on this circle. They have to push further south. Teams have started to find their locations around the edge of... But I feel like that doesn't really fully characterize it. They are maintaining strength and covering their back flank by doing so, by taking a slower rotation. So good news from them. Unfortunately for Nongshim Red Force, it is not such good news on their side, as they will be losing a lot of players to Yangon Galacticos, who continue to make things work on the southeast.
Yeah, that's the team you don't want taking you out. With the hovercraft, they're going to have a powerful end-game, at least potential anyways. Yangon Galacticos being right there neck and neck with Nongshim Red Force, that's the last team you want getting points, especially taking your roster down. That puts them closer to knocking Nongshim Red Force to 8th place, being right there on the bubble, putting the pressure even more so on them. Power, Alahi's going to be on the outside. He